Hey there, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Evoke Greatness. This podcast was created for those of you who, like me, are driven by their curious nature and fascination with the champion mindset. If you have an insatiable hunger for growth and knowledge, or maybe you're just curious on how some of the most successful people have navigated their journey, we share the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, and all the lessons learned along the way. It doesn't matter what chapter you are on in your story. Maybe you're just getting started, or heck, maybe you're halfway through. What I know is where intention goes, energy flows. It's my most sincere hope that you will hear something in one or maybe many of these episodes that resonates with you and reminds you that you are not in this alone. As we venture into year 2, I hope that you find a sense of connection and community when you're here, because we all deserve a place where we belong. My name is Sunny, and I am so glad you're here. If you're new, there's a few things you want to know about me. I am a huge book nerd and a wee bit of a control enthusiast with an obsession for motivational coffee cups. I believe that a rising tide raises all ships, and I invite you along in this journey to evoke greatness. Welcome back to another episode of Evoke Greatness. The Arizona monsoons are moving in full force. And those of us who live in Arizona, we always love this time of year because it's really hot, but then we get these beautiful electrical storms. So last night you could feel that there was more humidity and energy in the air, and nothing had quite moved in yet, but we knew it was coming. And so all of a sudden the wind starts blowing like crazy and a storm moves in. We have pouring rain. Wind breaks all kinds of trees, that the kind of the damage and the aftermath that comes post-storm. And I took my dog out for a walk this morning. And it was a beautiful, beautiful, crystal clear morning. And what's really interesting is oftentimes the clearest skies come right after a storm passes through. And it got me thinking about it this morning as I'm looking at the sky and it's just blue, the sun is shining. You wouldn't have known that we had a storm last night. And it had me think about the different phases of a storm. So you've kind of got, I chalked it up to 4 different phases. So you've got the calm before the storm. You've got the storm clouds that are gathering around you, and the storm is starting to move in. You've got the phase where you're smack dab in the eye of the storm, or you're experiencing the aftermath because it just passed through. And so when you think about life in a way of phases of storms, I'm curious, what phase are you in right now? When you think about the calm before the storm, you think about a sense of unusual quietness or peace in your life. But yet there's like a sudden feeling of unease or anticipation. It's like, okay, waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? And so you're preparing mentally and emotionally. Thinking about that calm before the storm, sometimes we get caught up in the anticipation of what's coming, right? And we don't actually embrace the peace while it lasts. And I think that is one of the lessons in that first phase of the calm before the storm, is really trying to enjoy the current moment without the anxiety about the future. Looking at that time as, maybe it's a moment for self-care. Maybe it's a moment for some rest and restoration because something's coming. And so think about what intentions you want to set for how you handle those anticipated challenges or changes that are coming your way. Or are you a little bit farther in the storm? Do you feel the clouds swirling around? You feel the wind, the energy's changing, and the storm's moving in. You know it's coming. And are you recognizing some of those approaching challenges? Do you have an increased sense of stress or tension in different areas of your life? Sometimes those are moments where we're a little bit more hypersensitive or reactive. And we have more frequent conflicts or obstacles that just seem to come our way. And it's this sense of impending change or difficulty coming about. Are you ever working on creating plans for those potential scenarios and how they could play out. Kind of the unintended consequences. If this were to happen, how would I handle this situation? Having a support system in those periods of time are so incredibly important because we feel a bit like we're out of control, right? And if you're anything like me, I'm a control enthusiast. And so I like to have a pretty good sense of control. And it's when that storm comes moving in that I feel like, ooh, I don't have control of this. Now, spoiler alert, we never really have control over it, but sometimes it makes us feel better to think so. And so what does our support system look like? Are we talking with people that we trust about, hey, this is going on. I'm running into this challenge. I'm anticipating, or I'm a little bit reactive to this. Ask for feedback. Ask for support along the way. Or are you smack dab in the eye of the storm? This is the part that is probably pretty overwhelming. Sometimes that can be emotionally, physically. Those are really intense periods of time. And so we've already done the anticipatory, the worry ahead of time. Now we're smack dab in the middle of it and it is swirling around us. Are we focusing on keeping ourselves as calm and controlled as we can be? Are you figuring out how you can break really large processes or challenging processes that you're up against? Challenging situations. Are you working to break those down into smaller steps so that they feel a little more manageable? Are you looking for strength in unexpected places? Again, leaning on your support system, asking for guidance, reaching out. Sometimes it's not about somebody coming in, stepping in and helping you when you're in the eye of the storm. Sometimes it's actually about being able to just communicate. I am super overwhelmed right now. And having someone that you can trust to do that is a really, really important relationship to have. Sometimes people can share how they've handled similar challenges or situations. And sometimes, this is really hard, but sometimes it's learning the value of perseverance, like pushing through those really, really hard times. And sometimes even reminding yourself, hey, I have overcome harder things, right? I have learned to do the hard things well. Sometimes it's about reaching back to previous situations or scenarios where you were able to navigate through that and picking up on the lessons, the responses that you did inside of that moment that you can draw from and bring into this. Sometimes in the middle of the swirling storm, we can feel really alone. We can feel really lonely. And so don't feel like you have to do that alone. Just ensure that you're reaching out to your support system, but ensure you're also creating something for yourself where you can say, I don't always have to lean on someone else. I have learned to do the hard things better than I used to. I have learned to navigate the hard things where I don't feel like I'm losing my ever-loving mind. Rather, it's going to be hard. I know I'm going to go through a period of time. This is a really challenging season, but I'm going to come out stronger on the other side of this. Or are you in the phase where the storm's already passed? For anyone who lives like in Tornado Alley or the Midwest, where after these big storms, even monsoons in Arizona, these big storms come through and you're like locked down inside and you know that all hell may be breaking loose outside, but you haven't seen it yet until you go out and survey the next morning. And then you're taking a look at what is the aftermath. You're assessing the damage. And sometimes that takes more of an emotional toll than anything else. Through the aftermath, through that storm that came through, maybe uprooted some trees, maybe tore a roof off, metaphorically speaking, but what have you lost? But also, what have you gained in the aftermath? Are there new strengths or skills that you've developed? How has your perspective changed? Did you fall off the wagon from good, healthy routines and habits when that storm was swirling around? And now that it's the aftermath, you're like, okay, I have to get back to some sort of sense of normalcy. I have to get back to my routines, my priorities, my goals. Sometimes it's about being grateful for going through those moments. And that's really hard to do in the moment. That's usually something that you can kind of reflect back upon. But the thing to recognize is life's storms for all of us, they are absolutely inevitable. But your growth through them, that's choice. So identify what phase you're in right now. What is your storm teaching you? Are you resisting and fighting it? Or are you open to actually embracing it? Those are questions that you have to ask yourself as you navigate through the cycles of a storm. And we're all in different seasons in our life, and it's cyclical, right? We're going to go back through these cycles again. And so when we learn to better navigate each of them, we learn to embrace them a little bit more with a little bit different perspective. When we can persevere, it starts to change the lens in which we view them. Every storm, no matter how fierce it is, carries seeds of transformation. So your resilience is certainly not just about weathering the storm, but it's about where did the seeds of transformation land? It's about how you choose to bloom afterwards. So I would challenge you today to commit to one action that will help you navigate the current phase that you're in, the current season you're in, with intention and with courage. Your future self will be stronger because of it. And your future self will be thankful because as you go through that, you build up more and more strength. So that storm may be a part of your story, but my friend, it does not define your journey. You have the power to write the next chapter. You have the power to better navigate that next season, that next phase of the storm in your life. And so I'll ask you, what will it be? What will it be? I hope that you are going through an up season right now. I hope that maybe it's the calm before the storm. I hope you're not in the thick of it. But if you are, I want you to know that you're not alone. I've certainly been through my fair share of storms, and I'll continue to go through. Like I said, they're cyclical. Just remember that though that storm is a part of your story, it does not define your entire journey. What really makes a difference is how you learn to respond. So I encourage you to dance in the rain, enjoy that storm to the best of your ability, knowing that there's the opportunity to have seeds of transformation put into you through it. And so what will you do with those seeds? Where will you allow them to be planted and fostered and bloomed? I hope that this spoke and resonated deeply with someone, because everybody's going through one of these phases. You're on the front end or the back end of it. And so I hope this maybe adds a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of perspective around a different way to view storms. Because remember, the clearest skies come after that storm. Thank you so much for listening and for being here on this journey with me. I hope you'll stick around. If you liked this episode, it would mean the world for me if you would rate and review the podcast or share it with someone you know may need to hear this message. I love to hear from you all and want you to know that you can leave me a voicemail directly. If you go to my website, evokegreatness.com, and go to the Contact Me tab, you'll just hit the big old orange button and record your message. I love the feedback and comments that I've been getting, so please keep them coming. I'll leave you with the wise words of author Robin Sharma. Greatness comes by doing a few small and smart things each and every day. It comes from taking little steps consistently. It comes from making a few small chips against everything in your professional and personal life that is ordinary, so that a day eventually arrives when all that's left is the extraordinary.